So this is the introductory adventure for the 5e Eberron book. It's called Forgotten Relics. It primarily takes place in Sharn. In fact, we don't even need this map at all, except to go over any character backstories you guys want to cover. For reference, I have not read any 5e Eberron material, so this is going to be a blend of 3e and 4e stuff that I already know pretty well, and if they change anything in 5e, which they probably, they always make a little bit of changes, it just won't be represented in this story, and that'll be fine. I also want to establish that this adventure is a very heavy, Brick will like it, it's very heavy theater of the minds kind of stuff.
Nice.
It's actually pretty light on tactical maps and whatnot, and it uses stuff like the chase rules. So just to give you a heads up, there might be situations where you're like, I want to grab this person as they start moving away using an opportunity action that you won't be able to necessarily do that because you're in a chase for cinematic reasons. That's the main thing I could see people maybe having a problem with having read the module. If that comes up, we'll address it. But
I always forget there are chase rules.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I like them, but I'm going to give them a shot. I'm running this almost entirely out of the book. I made one or two tweaks because there were a few things that didn't make sense in the module.
That's fair.
So let's go ahead and do a rundown of characters. Why don't we start with Nodal?
Okay. I am playing as Willow de Glanda, known as Willow the Servile. Do you want to go into the thing that you told us to prepare?
I'll cover that once you. Yeah. I'll give you guys the basics. I will give the audience the basics here. So, every character here has some connection to a mercenary or to a captain in the. Let me actually load up Sharn here. So the game is taking place in the city of Sharn. Basically, think fantasy New York. It's the largest metropolis in Eberron by far. It's over here on the coast of Breland. It is a major center of travel and trade. It is also built over a half-mile high bay on a sheer cliff with no space to the east or west, so the city goes straight up. It is a 1.5 miles high and 1 mile wide. And if I remember how objects work. Each character here has previously made the acquaintance, get my NPC sheet, of Sergeant Germaine Velroy. She's a member of the Sharn Watch, and she was a veteran of the last war for Breland, which is the country that Sharn is in. I think you can go now, Nodal.
Oh, okay. So we were asked to provide information on how we were connected to Sergeant Germaine, and so my character Willow was running a way station created by Trevina the Architect, who is a Galanda scion, who basically just makes a bunch of different enclaves and way stations in extremely dangerous parts of the world because she believes that she is following the Draconic Prophecy. When Germaine's patrol was fighting during the last war and fleeing from a larger force, they arrived at my way station and requested sanctuary during the night. Upon which, it being granted, they promptly fell asleep. And when they awoke, the inn was surrounded by the patrol that had been chasing them, completely dead. My belief is I will do anything to take care of my guests. My bond is I will do anything to take care of my guests. And my flaw is I will do anything to take care of my guests.
And are you actually dragon marked?
Yes, I am a dragon marked by the House Glanda.
Alright, so for some context on that, Eberron has 12 families or very broad lineages that have inherent magical powers that manifest as these super magical tattoos. Over the course of history, the abilities given to these people have allowed them to basically become powerful multinational corporations. So the Halflings have 2 such dragon marks, one of which our friend Willow has here, is the Mark of Hospitality, which allows for things like create food and drink and that sort of thing. Heroes feast at high levels. And they basically own the hospitality industry and also a lot of other stuff like, the way stations during the wars and whatnot. Also, for reference, for the last 100 years, the continent of Corvair has been in the middle of a civil war between the 5 nations. At this point, 2 years ago, the Treaty of Thronehold was signed, and there are 13 nations. Well, 12 nations. It's something like that. There are a lot of people who are unhappy about that. There's a lot of political fallout. We're basically in the middle of a Cold War.
Oh, also, just for going to actual character details, I am playing a hospitality sorcerer. A sorcerer who gets their power from their dragon mark.
It's going around the table. Treble, why don't you introduce yourself?
My character is a Warforged sorcerer. He is his official designation is Prototype Mobile Artillery Platform SK-3. His friends call him Artie. Sometimes people call him SK3. It depends. And my character is just kind of, he's not that old. He was made at the very, very end of the war. So like he's what? That's what, 2 years, maybe 3.
Creating new Warforged was made illegal during the Treaty of Thronehold 2 years ago.
Right. So he's between 2 and 3 years old. So he never got to actually fight in the war, but he was his connection to the NPC is that he was briefly under his command.
So you're Brelish? You're from Breland?
Yes, we'll go with that.
Okay. McDohl.
Oh, well, I wasn't done.
Oh, no, go on.
My character, he is a very his ideal is so his he's true neutral, and he's kind of he hasn't really decided. He doesn't understand like concepts of good or evil, and he's kind of trying to figure out if he wants to be good or evil or lawful or chaotic. He doesn't know. He's shopping around, and but at the same time, he like has this belief that so his ideal is there's no good in pretending to be something I'm not. So he's trying to figure out what he is, and his flaw is when all you have is a hammer, because all he has are attack spells. He has no utility magic whatsoever. Like he's got all his cantrips are attack cantrips. All his all the spells he knows are like Burning Hands and Chaos Bolt. So that's it. He all he does is blow things up. That's all he's good at. And that's it.
Okay. McDohl, what do you got for us?
I have a hobgoblin wizard by the name of Rehkhan. He is ostensibly a mercenary with House Deneth, and basically he met this common point of contact during the war, and he's also a dabbling historian.
Mm-hmm. And what's your nationality? Have you put any thought into that?
I hadn't really know.
Okay. Are you a member of the... I'm going to just give you the two most obvious options here. You could either be a member of... You could be Brelish, like Germain, or there's a nation-state of hobgoblins that was carved out of, I believe, Zalargo, that people are not very happy about during the war. Back in ancient times in history, hobgoblins ruled the entire continent, and recently a charismatic hobgoblin leader has come up in power to take back what is theirs and has carved out a big chunk of the continent. But there are still also hobgoblins living in the other countries that still hold their old nationalities above that.
Yeah. No, he's from Dargoon. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you're a Dargunian mercenary who worked with Germain during the war?
Yep.
Cool. Anything else you want to tell us?
Nah, I don't think anything else really exciting.
McDohl?
It's a dabbling historian.
All right. My character is a human bard. His name is Melvin. He's in his late 40s. Starting to gray on the sides, a little salt and pepper in the beard. Think of like, you know, those like touring roadies with like rock bands and stuff. They're kind of like thin and lanky.
Are you playing
That's
Deadhead?
I don't know what Deadhead is, so maybe
Something for like a metal band in this day and age. Yeah.
I used to work with a guy named Melvin who had that exact same vibe.
Excellent.
Wow.
Let's see. So it's funny. So bringing up like hard metal rock music. That's the kind of bard he is. And either people really are into it, or people are like, what is this guy playing? Like, I don't understand it at all. So that kind of makes him grumpy because he's never been like the majorly successful bard as like other traditional bards have been. His ideal is, I will show you how powerful music is. And his flaw is, the harder the music, the better it is.
And how do you know Sergeant Jermaine Vilroy?
It was they were on a long train ride.
That's
and
right.
They struck up a few conversations,
Okay.
which may have actually more been Melvin ranting at Jermaine a good chunk of the time about how no one understands him, the power of music.
And do you have any thought on your place in the world beyond that, or?
No.
Okay.
Just to try to get people to understand, like, this is music and it's powerful and it should be as hard as possible.
And finally, Brick.
I am playing Nilo. Nilo is a swift stride shifter rogue. So a shifter is the Eberron version of like a poor man's lycanthrope. So I can
It's
kind of
basically the shifter is to the werewolf as the Aasimar is to the angel.
right. So I can't actually turn into a literal giant rat, but I can get as close as possible while still keeping a vaguely humanoid shape.
And how are you related to Sergeant Jermaine Vilroy?
Nilo's bond is Germaine bade me give her my word and some damn how convinced me to keep it. My ideal is waking up unbound tomorrow justifies anything done today. And Nilo's flaw is never do anything you can talk your way out of.
Okay. And any other thoughts about where you fit in within the world?
I mean, you know, the streets of West Sharn, born and raised on the playground. That's where I spent most of my days.
How old are you?
I don't know how shifters age.
A little bit faster than humans, not much.
Then I would probably be a little bit faster than a teenager.
Okay. So you're too young to be conscripted into the war too.
It's very unlikely that Nilo has ever left Sharn.
Yep. Got it. All right. I need one more thing from each of the party members. What is your AC?
Class 11.
I don't like that being the question. Normally,
Yeah.
it's past perception.
Well, that's the next question. But what's your AC to start?
13.
Nilo's
11.
is 14.
10.
Melvin
11.
and Rehkhan.
11.
All right. Do
Well,
I need to
you
put
have
mage
mage-
armor values in parentheses after these?
Yes.
Who else
It'll be-
go into 14 with mage armor?
I don't have mage armor.
Rehkhan
Just
can.
Rehkhan?
Rehkhan can.
This way I don't
I'm
have
sorry.
to ask.
My AC is 13. I don't know why I didn't notice my dex is 6. Sorry.
This is so I do not have to ask if something hits. Just let me know if your AC changes during an encounter. But otherwise, I'm just going to be assuming that these attacks on these ACs will hit. What is your passive perceptions? Starting with Nodal,
12.
Artie,
11.
Melvin,
12.
Rehkhan,
12.
and Nilo.
13.
And passive insights.
12.
Artie,
10.
13.
Rehkhan,
Passive insight is 12.
and Nilo.
11.
All right. There we go. Now I have a nice little table ready to go. Excellent. So, let's see here. I believe, Nilo, you live in Sharn, so you would have gotten this note via a runner.
Sure.
Rehkhan, you're a traveling mercenary, so you would have gotten a note when you, anytime you were checked into even just a smallish encampment with a House Civis scribe. Melvin, I'm assuming you also probably, anytime you were in some place with a House Civis scribe, basically, you could be pretty much anywhere on the continent when you receive these messages. Willow, where do you normally hang out?
Willow usually.
Like, you have a regular assignment within your house, or?
Yeah, I would say she was probably still running that way station. Like she's
Okay.
both there because she thinks it's important, and also because her house finds her a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
Extra.
And
Yeah.
Artie?
Artie would have been pretty. Artie just wanders around from place to place.
Okay.
So he doesn't really have a. Again, he's trying to find his.
All right, so each of you received the following letter. The letter was probably delivered via a Sylvis gnome. They are a house with the mark of scribing, that allows them to basically do communications, magical telegrams via sendings and whatnot. And all of your letters said, this is Sergeant Germain Vilroy of the Sharn Watch. I'm calling on you for a job. I can't write the details, but it pays well and requires your skills. Meet me at the air shop dock at the top of Lyrander Tower and come armed.
So we're doing some crimes then.
Each of you who was not within the city was also given a voucher in order to travel on either lightning rail or, if you were really off in the remote, a Lyrander airship. So this woman has spent a not inconsiderable amount of money to bring you together.
And she said she's a sergeant of the city watch.
Yep.
Okay.
Also a Relish veteran.
Yeah. It's an interesting amount of money for a sergeant to spend.
So, I assume is the group together on the airship platform of House Lyrander at the top of the city at this point?
I hope so.
Sure.
Does anyone do anything other than arrive at the appointed time?
Mm-mm.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, I arrived precisely at the appointed time.
So a Lyrander air ushers you into a small conference room. The watch has a combination watch station and tariffs and immigration office for people coming in from other countries at the airport dock, and it's very large. The airport dock itself is huge. It's near the top of the city in a shining silvery tower where multiple airships can be moored, and it's actually just barely, the edges of it are at the very bare edge of the manifest zone. So the reason Sharn can be as vertical as it is the plane effectively for Eberron of air and radiance, the plane of basically where all the angels hang out, kind of bleeds into the material plane in certain places. And one of those places is the cliff bluffs where Sharn are built. This allows certain flying and levitation magical items to draw on the power from this manifest zone, so they can be created at much lower cost and difficulty than it would be elsewhere, which allows them to build things like cloud stones for flying towers to act as foundations, and also specialized flying vehicles. Germaine is there on time. She brings you into a fairly large actual kind of conference room for the watch. No one else is allowed in. She asks a junior member, a cadet, to make sure that the door is guarded. She sits down and asks if any of you would like anything to drink, pouring herself a cup of brandy.
Tea would be nice.
I'll drink a couple of that brandy.
She gets a second sifter and cuts you. I'd have to call out for anything hot. Would you mind iced tea?
And Willow frowns a little bit at her unaccommodatingness, but nods.
And she goes into an actual ice box in the back of the place and pulls out a bottle, pours the tea from it. Anyone else?
Make it a third brandy.
Third brandy?
Because I have a feeling if you called us here and insisting that we were armed, that we're going to be getting into some difficulty.
Well, I hope not, but if there's some work I can't necessarily... I can't let the watch get involved in, I'm afraid. Not overtly, anyway. It might actually put someone in more harm to have a bunch of members of the watch breathing down on them than having a discreet group like you. Also, if it comes to a fight, I know each of you can handle yourselves.
Certainly.
Alright, so here's what's happening. There's a Warforged woman named Cole. From my understanding, she's a veteran. She tried to get word to me of a crime being committed in the cogs. I don't have any details beyond that, but my investigations on her revealed that it's probably getting involved with some... It's not just like a small-time crime. There's definitely agents from larger criminal organizations at play here. And as much as I would like to go out there and find out about it, I think that it would be better to do this quietly. That's where all of you come in.
Willow turns to the right to look at the bard, and turns back.
It's not that you would do it quietly, it's that you could potentially do it without getting it linked back to the watch. Or myself.
I can also do it very, very quietly.
Excellent. I know I can always count on you. Much as you might seem to resent that at times.
I mean, I don't drink any of this brandy until I watch her do it.
Oh no, she totally. She had a glass. She's about halfway through the sifter already.
Yeah, Melvin has a raised eyebrow, lets out a dissatisfied grunt, and helps himself to the brandy.
Artie looks disappointed because he can't drink brandy.
Can he look disappointed?
I mean, he's got little metallic eyebrows. They just kind of turn up at kind of
Did they make like a creaking noise?
I'm picturing that Garner Craig Court robot who has to like draw in his eyebrows. And
That's exactly 100% what I was picturing. Is that robot? Except I don't have to draw them in; they're just kind of there. Yes.
Most doubting face.
She's looking at you. She doesn't seem to be really expecting like an answer right away. Those of you who know her personally at any level would probably say the 3 words that would best describe this woman are cynical, sardonic, and terse.
And Willow nods and says, "I said you were a guest of mine, and I never rescinded that."
I narrow my eyes and I ask if after this job we're finally even.
Oh, Nilo. If only you knew. Look, when you're a little older and you know how the world works a little bit better, you'll understand that being even isn't something that you want. As long as people know that you are sometimes an agent of mine, lots of criminal elements within the city leave you alone. And given where you live, that's probably for the best, don't you think?
And here's what I know. If you're not even, you're odd.
We could be even if you want, but again, I think it's in your best interest for the two of us to have this mutual arrangement. Someday you're going to understand that.
I don't understand what's being even.
So, the 3 words that I would describe this woman is condescending, condescending, and condescending.
She's in her mid-40s, so it's not so much that she just thinks that you're kind of young and naive.
Nilo is like, okay, boomer.
So, do we have an agreement then? Are we working together?
I would like to know something more of the nature of this work before I agree to anything. Rest assured that I will keep whatever you say in confidence.
As far as the nature of the work, I need you to meet with this woman, find out what's going on, and you will have the full authority of the Watch to decide upon that as you deem fit. I would prefer if you, again, keep things quiet and don't overtly bring this back to me, if it can be helped.
Sure, of course.
I also think this is in this woman's best interest. It's not a good thing to rile the suspicions of some of the people I believe she's involved with.
What was her name?
I think it's better if no one thinks the Watch is involved.
All right, I'll help,
Very well.
but I can't promise I'm going to be quiet about it.
Oh, Melvin, quiet. When I say be quiet about it, I mostly mean don't let people know. Don't write a ballad. Is it a ballad? What kind of instrument do you carry?
Loot.
Just don't put any power chords on that lute of yours that have my name in them as you're doing it, and that's probably quiet enough.
And a hand drum. Loot and a hand drum, but primarily the loot.
Is the lute electric?
No, but he strums it really fast.
It does have a kick pedal and a whammy bar.
Oh,
Loot with a whammy bar. I love it.
So what I need you to do is make sure that this woman's story adds up, and then from there either contact me, or if you think there's something else you can take care of quietly, and she'll kind of nod towards your loot and bow and whatnot on each of you. You know, each kind of nods towards each of your weapons. Take care of it. That's entirely under your discretion.
What was this woman's name?
This woman is Sergeant Germaine Vilroy.
No, not this woman. The Warforged.
Oh, the woman is a Warforged named Cole. The only thing she's told you about her so far is that she's a veteran of the last war.
Okay.
So we're just to look for her and find out what's going on.
I
Some
haven't.
sort of problem.
We've arranged a meeting, and that is as far as it went. That's where I decided that bringing down a Surgeon of the Watch down to where she wanted to meet would probably bring undue attention to everything.
Of course.
That's why I got all of you involved. And you won't obviously be working for free. And she walks back to the counter, sorts through it, opens up a cabinet, and pulls out actually a pretty hefty sack and places it on the table with the jink of coin. This will be sufficient to get you started, and there's twice as much of that for each of you if the job is completed well, which I have the utmost confidence all of you can do.
Melvin's eyes go wide at the sack. All right.
Is anyone going to take the pouch?
already go reach.
Nilo is never the first person to reach for anything.
Okay.
Willow seems a bit shocked that she expects her to be doing this for money.
I'll reach for it.
Okay. Opening it up, it's actually it's not a single bag. Within that bag, it's just a little like tarp kind of deal, and within that are 5 coin purses. If you you can tell by the heft, it's probably about 20 to 30 gold each.
But how can you get them out of there if they no longer have a GUID?
That's a good question.
Well, they're
That's
coins
not-
inside a bag, so
We have to take them all out.
it's
and match them to
25
each of our
gold
names.
pieces each, and she's offering you 50 each upon completing the job.
I'll hand a smaller pouch to the.
Matching them to each of us will take no more than 25 comparison. I'll take the bag and I'll say I'll use it in order to help this woman.
She walks back to the table again, opens up a second drawer, and pulls out a piece of parchment inside. It's actually inside a leather folio. She opens it up. It is a writ of authority of the Sharn Watch with her name on it and a House Sylvis mage mark, showing its authenticity. Show this, and you will have the full authority of the Watch. Try not to commit any overt crimes with it.
And Willow holds her hand out, clearly expecting her to give it to her.
Yeah, sure. She'll hand it directly to Willow.
Folds it up, puts it into her pouch.
The meeting is tomorrow afternoon. It's in a Warforged bar in High Walls. I can put you up for the night if anyone needs it.
I absolutely do not need it, and I'm going to be spending tonight scoping out this Warforged bar, if at all possible.
And yeah, just try and get back to me. Try and make sure that no one knows that the Watch is interested, because I think it's in her best interests. And, try not to commit any crimes that I'd have to cover up with that.
Willow finds
Very
herself
well.
physically incapable of turning down her hospitality.
So each of our little bags has 25 gold in it?
Yep.
Okay. That is a lot of gold for a level 1 character.
That is a lot of gold, yeah. Hang on, let me check the player's handbook.
Like, the amount
Yeah,
of
she's
trouble...
actually... the gold is... the amount of money she's just handed you guys, like all of you would be aware of this, is probably about a quarter of what she spent to actually get all of you here, if not, a tenth. She has spent a
Yeah.
considerable amount of money.
Yeah.
And Nilo, could you go ahead and give me a just an untrained intelligence check, since you live in Sharn
Sure.
and you know this woman?
gonna be a 13, boss.
So, the largest crime syndicate in Sharn is the Baromer clan. They're a long established halfling mafia family that also has a lot of legitimate power.
I'm sorry, did you
And
say
you've
halfling
always-
mafia?
Yep.
Oh my god.
And you've always kind of suspected that Jermaine might be in their pocket.
Okay.
That's what you get with a 13.
And have we established that the five of us, this is the first time that we've met?
That's up
Seems
to you.
that way.
Sure, yeah, she called you all together
Definitely.
from various walks of life from the sound of it, so yes.
I'm going to approach Artie.
Mhm.
So, okay, let me ask this first. In Sharn, like, would I be able to go into this Warforged bar? Would that be...
Warforged are like goblins in that they have almost no rights,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of prejudice against them. That said, Warforged tend to look out for their, like, legally, yeah, but if it's like, you probably know Highwall. It's a largely immigrant district, and it has a lot of Syrian refugees.
Okay.
Syr is a nation that was destroyed during the last war. It was yeah. Oh, sorry. Syr was destroyed during the last war by a magical catastrophe. Within Sharn, Highwall is one of the main points where there are Syrian refugees. You suspect you could probably get into the bar. You might have to pay a cover.
Okay.
It's not going to be like you're like a normal person on the street walking in there probably wouldn't get attacked, but you wouldn't necessarily want to raise trouble in a bar like that.
Okay.
The other thing I'll let you have for free, Rick, since you're from Sharn, the Baromer clan's MO is to steal from tourists and travelers and business people that are not from the city. That's part of the reason they are popular within the city, is they bill themselves as an immigrant family that made their own way, and they don't put their street toughs or their pickpockets against actual members of the community.
Yeah, fair to say that I approve of all of this.
Okay.
I also would like to say that if I ever do play in a long-form Eberron campaign, my character's only goal is going to be to get a war started, so they can't call it that anymore. I'm going to approach Artie.
Oh no, it's very clear in the books that it's in the middle of a Cold War and things are going to go pear-shaped real soon.
I'm going to approach Artie. This is Artie's first time in Sharn.
Yes.
So I'm going to give him like a quick rundown of Highwalls and what to expect. So if we're going to go and meet Cole at this bar tomorrow, I want to know what we're walking into tonight. So,
like, you walk over and start talking, and Artie just shoves his hand directly in your face in kind of like a handshake gesture, but it's at eye level. And he's just waiting, and he's like, I have designated you as a 4.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
All right, so do any of you need lodging or anything else from me? Because I have quite a bit of other work to be doing.
No,
Yes.
I have squalid living
Lodging
conditions. I
or
have
something else?
Sorry, say that again.
Lodging or something else?
Lodging.
All right. And she sits down and starts making out a little quick note on a ledger. Is that all? Excellent. I know that this is in incredibly capable hands, even if you don't think so sometimes, Nilo. And she hands Melvin a signed note that gives you admission to, Willow's going to know about this too. It gives you permission to be in the Galahandra Hall in Middle Dura, which is a pretty good, like, high class. It's basically one of the nicest hotels in Sharn.
And this is all it takes. A note from the principal, as it were.
I'm a member of the Sharn Watch, and I've spent a not inconsiderable amount of gold to make sure that all of you can have anything you need for this investigation.
Willow just assumed
Very
she
well.
would be staying there anyway.
Right. Yeah, Willow can stay there free of charge as a member of the house. Anything
I'll
else
take one of
before I
those
leave?
vouchers.
Not gonna
I'll take
turn
one of
down
those
this
vouchers.
offer.
And she takes the voucher back from Melvin and adds your name to it. And kind of looks expectantly at Artie.
What is she looking expectantly at Artie for?
I mean,
Artie's-
after about 3 seconds, she shrugs, hands the voucher back to Melvin. Your name's not on it right now.
You don't get to sleep in the swanky, presumably haunted hotel.
I don't think Warforged sleep.
No, they don't.
You don't get to stand there, ominously.
That's unfortunately we're not gonna get to play that scene out where Artie is just standing over somebody's bed, just motionless, staring down at them, watching them sleep.
Willow would probably find it comforting.
Artie walks over to the nearest person, which I guess is Melvin, since we're just gonna go with this, and he sticks his hand out in a handshake gesture directly in his face, eye level.
And with
And
that, Jermaine leaves. She makes
Willow follows her out the door.
She has some quick words with the cadet outside, and then as she sees you're following him, the cadet goes away into an antechamber, and the cadet leaves the antechamber, and she pulls you in close as if you want to say something secretly to her.
And Willow nods and then quotes the exact price charts for each of the methods of transportation that they used to get there. So who are we actually working for?
You're working for me.
And
You want to go
Willow-
ahead and give me a active insight?
That is a 16.
I gotta open my new dice. These aren't new, I just haven't opened them yet. Alright, you got a 16 on your insight? Let me...
I believe it's pronounced insigit.
So you know that she's definitely holding something back, but you don't know anything specific beyond that. Like, you don't know what. But at your insistence, go ahead and also then give me a charisma. Perception or persuasion.
One sec, I have to take out a D4.
Yep.
Oh, come on! Really?
That's
That's
funny.
shocking. That's a 9.
A 9? You can't pry any further information out of her. She just continues to insist, "You're working for me. You have the full authority of the Sharn Watch behind you. Try and make sure this woman doesn't come to any harm, and try and make sure that any crimes that she reports are dealt with appropriately." And she emphasizes that last word.
And Willow nods and then says, "I just want you to know that I'm finding your behavior very rude."
Oh, I'm sorry, Willow. I don't mean to be rude. You know I'm not generally a woman of too many words.
Willow says being rude like someone else would say being stabbed. And then she nods politely and goes back into the room.
Yeah, Jermaine heads off. She calls the cadet back in. The cadet steps in and he asks if there's anything else you need. He says you have the room for probably another hour before they have a meeting.
So,
Anything else? I've been instructed to provide you with anything you might need. That wouldn't cost the watch anything, basically, is what Jermaine told me.
Nilo is going to ask for as little as possible, and he has no need of Jermaine's help in the immediate future.
Willow asks for hot tea again.
Hot tea. Yeah, I can go. Yeah, I'll go get some from the kitchen. Anything else?
How about more of that brandy?
Help yourselves. Anything in this room. That
Hell,
cabinet there that she's unlocked. You have free reign over it.
hell yeah.
but oh, by the way, Artie still has his hand in your face. Just
Oh,
waiting.
and
Right, yeah.
Nilo, you would know this. I misspoke earlier. Middle Dura is actually a lower class neighborhood. The House Johanna establishment is still probably pretty safe and pretty secure and it's not going to be a super nice hotel. It's going to be a nice hotel in a
Right.
kind of rundown neighborhood. It's closer to where you'll be working than where you are right now. I misread the adventure.
Okay.
Willow assesses the room once again and then goes over to Nilo. And she curtsies and says, "Willow of the House Wanda."
introduce myself very curtly.
Who are we actually working for?
And I motion my head towards the door and say, Sergeant Germain.
And Willow looks at you like she doesn't think you're being stupid. She thinks you're messing with her.
Says, look,
Uh,
I'm not going into a meeting without knowing everything I can about the site. And I point to Artie. Nobody will raise an eyebrow, metal or Sharpie or otherwise, if Artie goes into this bar tonight just to get a sense of the place. While he does that, I'm going to scope it as best I can from the outside, know where all of the entrances and exits are, just in case everything goes pear-shaped and we have to leg it. The rest of you, enjoy your ritzy, glitzy hotel, hot tea, pressed sheets. I don't even know what thread count is, but Artie and I have work to do.
Willow nods and then says, "Then would you like me to go with Artie?"
I don't understand what she's asking.
Willow's essentially saying, "Do you want me to go? Because I'm welcome anywhere."
Is that true?
A halfling of that house would probably be welcome most anywhere. They're pretty well received. I mean, there might be personal slights that people have had from the house. Also, the one thing is, Willow, the bar is probably not being run by your house, and they may view you as competition.
So, I'm not worried, and I'll just tell Willow this, like, I'm not worried about you not being welcome there. I'm worried about your presence being out of the ordinary.
And Willow nods at that. Seems reasonable to her.
So, Artie, do you want to go ahead and assign numbers to the rest of them so we can get moving?
Yes.
Melvin grabs Artie's hand to shake it, but also like pull it down away from his face, more towards like waist level, like normal people.
Artie looks at him and says, "I've assigned you a 2 due to your advanced age and lack of any obvious weapons." And then he turns away from you and just goes to the next person.
He does have a longsword on him. If that affects the range,
Do we get up to
Are
a
there any
2.5?
half ratings?
What'd you say, Nodal?
No, nothing from in character.
He goes. He goes to Rehkhan next, and
When Artie approaches Rehkhan, he holds up a hand to intercept his robot-y hand from touching his face. And he
goes, "I assign you a 7 because of this of your large stature and spell book."
and Melvin sort of like says loudly from like where they were, like, "Did they just pull you out of the forge?"
And then like ignoring, Artie's ignoring you. She's gonna walk over to Willow, and then like the hand kind of does this weird like 90-degree thing but it's still like eye level. And he puts it in Willow's face and says, "I assign you a 10 due to your deceptively small stature and obviously deranged the obviously deranged look in your eye."
I accept your compliment in the spirit in which it was given.
Point of order: does Rehkhan have a spell book, or does he use a spell shard?
he's got a shard.
Okay.
Same thing. I mean,
So yeah,
just
spells.
substitute.
There are magical stones that can basically use to inscribe lots of information easily. You can retrieve that information by meditating with it. It's just a little round stone that Rehkhan can hold in his hands. That it would function easier as a spell book. It's easier, doesn't get wet, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very common among wizards to have those.
Okay. In case you're wondering what he's doing, he's assigning you threat values.
Oh, we get it.
Yeah, no.
And you guys
player
have
gets it.
for an hour. There are about half a dozen other cabinets that all have prominent locks on them, but the one that Jermaine was using is unlocked. It actually is. It's a combination of a glass display case and liquor cabinet, as well as a couple of shelves that seem to have some drawers of personal, like the stuff she would use if she was working out of this office.
So Nilo is not interested at all in robbing this place. That seems like a really, really good way to get in trouble.
Okay.
And I've already got enough trouble on my plate because I got this ridiculous note from Sergeant Germain calling in a favor.
Artie is now standing right next to Nilo, kind of uncomfortably close, waiting for us to go.
Okay, so I will take Artie.
I'm going to go procure arms.
I brought both of mine.
All right, so
I have a spare set in my luggage.
you're checking out the bar.
Mhm.
You're staking out the joint. Cool. I'm gonna go enjoy my inn. See ya.
I'll meet you there later, I suppose.
All
I'm
right.
gonna go
and
to the inn as well.
If you don't have any other business, you leave the watch station at the airport dock. You are at goddamn near the top of Sharn right now. You're not quite in the skyway, but you're as close high up as you can get by walking on a tower. So it's going to be quite a hike to get down to the middle and lower rings. The middle ring, which is where all of you are headed right now.
Are they
So
acting
Sharn-
like tourists?
Sharn is a city of bridges connected by towers connected by bridges, as you can see on this map.
No,
does
I have
anyone
a question.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you said your question. Go for it.
I was like, Nilo, I have a question. Where does one go to procure a blade?
I tell Rehkhan that Germain's note said you should have had one when you came in.
What kind of blade do you want?
Oh god.
No, that's the one that. No, that's the one that that you actually have hanging at your side. Say something similar to that.
Do I know the name of like some reputable smiths where you can just get some?
Yeah, House Cannith operates dozens of smitheries at any level of quality you want. You can basically get whatever you want. You're willing to pay for in the city.
Okay.
And you're aware of some black markets, even if you don't have any personal criminal connections. You know some places they could maybe get a sword, even if they don't mind that it maybe came off a corpse or something.
So Rehkhan has already demonstrated that he's bad at following directions. I think directing him to a black market would again be a really good way to get me into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I will direct him to a reputable smith who can get him some good steel.
And how expensive is the place you're going to send him to?
I know he's got at least 25 gold. I assume Nilo doesn't actually know that much about weapons.
Uh-huh.
I'm not looking to fleece Rehkhan, if that's the question.
I guess my question is: are you going to send him someplace? Like, just basically, what are you going to send him someplace, and how nice of an area of the city do you want to send?
Well, how
Rehkhan to?
nice is Rehkhan currently armored?
Dressed?
He's got his magic stuff on him, and he's got some basic armor.
Mm-hmm.
With a bit of the trappings of House Deneth, but that's basically it. Like if he's of any state of skill, he might have put all of his paycheck into his armor before procuring a actual steel weapon.
Okay, well, if his armor looks fancy, I'm going to direct him to a fancy smith. If his armor looks plain or badly worn, I will send him to a less fancy smith.
It is very plain.
All right, so there's Nilo, you know of House Cannith licensed and operated Mage Right blacksmith in the middle ring. It's probably it's on the way to where you're heading for the hotel. It's probably about 15-20 minutes out of the way.
Okay. Give him directions.
All right. Thank you.
So Germain gave us one writ, and Willow is holding it. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to put a star by Willow's name in my notes because she's the most important.
All right, so I'll cover Rehkhan first. Rehkhan. Let's see here. The Sword Point's garrison is run by a combination of House Deneth and the local watch, but they do have a blacksmith on site that takes public works. They're in the middle ring. You'll have to cross a couple of bridges, but there's no tolls or anything along the way. Go ahead and buy anything out of the player's handbook. And you said you have... Have you actually worked in official capacity for House Deneth?
Yes.
Go ahead and knock 10% off any price.
Okay.
They'll recognize you as a veteran of the last war and someone who has done work for the house before. So they'll get you basically like this is the discount they would get anyone who didn't actually have business for their house but was associated with it.
Okay.
You get friend prices.
Yep. The basic ass longsword. That's all I really need.
So the bar you were told about is in the district of High Walls, and it's called the Cog Carnival. It's a Warforged bar. That's the only information you were given of it. It wouldn't probably be too hard to find once you're in High Wall. There aren't a lot of Warforged bars in the city. So who all is going to that district?
It's just the two of us, right?
Artie's the only one I need for my purposes. I don't know if some of these other jabronis are tagging along or not.
I'm going to the hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where Melvin's do.
Okay, so those two of you are headed to Metal Dura. High Walls. The stench of body odor, garbage, and tobacco mix on the streets here. High Walls cut off the district's crumbling, vandalized buildings from the rest of Sharn, though towers rise over the walls like imposing sentries. Many people stand idly on the street corners, eyeing you suspiciously and keeping to themselves. There are a lot of large gates that you can tell are obviously magically reinforced, and there's just kind of a sprawl of graffiti. There isn't really much of a watch presence in this district either. You saw, depending on where you are in the city, the number of watch you'll see are more or less, but there aren't even any watch stations along the bridges into these walls.
I would like to point out, this is just the flying castle from the Final Fantasy box art. That's what this is.
Yeah.
So Artie, you're going to work the inside of the Cog Carnival tonight. I'm going to work the outside. What I want your job is to go in and be a Warforged and enjoy the Warforged bar and answer these questions for me.
I'll be right back.
How crowded is the place on a typical night? What's the general demeanor of the Warforged that are drinking in there? Do Warforged drink?
I was about to ask that same question. What do Warforged drink?
More back and forth on those multiple times. I'm going to say that they don't.
What happens at a Warforged bar then?
You'd have to go into one and find out.
All right. Well, Artie's going to tell me. I want Artie to become somewhat acquainted with the barkeep. Like, make up a story about why you're in town. Don't tell them that you're here working for the watch and that we're going to do some covert shit in the place tomorrow. But generally, how crowded? What's the demeanor of the people in there? And who is the barkeep? Meanwhile, I'm going to scope out the outside of the building and find out how many entrances and exits there are and how accessible they are from the streets in case we have to get in or out very quickly. Let me rephrase that. In case Nilo has to get in or out very quickly.
Artie looks at you and says, "Acknowledged," and he gives you this really exaggerated double wink.
All right, Artie, you approach the bar. It's not hard to find. Anyone in the district will be able to tell you. The one thing you'll notice along the way as you're working through the district, this area is really heavily populated by Syrian refugees and veterans of the last war that don't seem like they're being pretty well. The ones that haven't come out of that war very good. You see a lot of, missing eyes, missing limbs.
I'm back.
When you get to the bar, it's kind of a crumbling facade, and there's some pretty ugly graffiti on it. Stuff like forged or scrapped and leave metal heads scrawled across the outside of it. The bouncer doesn't seem to notice and or care.
Is the bouncer also a Warforged?
Yes.
Like,
he's just standing there outside the bar. I believe he has a long sword. One of his feet was clearly lost at some point and has been replaced by a somewhat inexpertly built, crafted wooden prosthetic.
Warforged are weird, man.
Artie is going to just walk inside.
Yep, he just nods to you. Doesn't make any motion to block your path. Inside is a large, poorly lit area with a fireplace that's emitting more smoke than light in the back. There's a bar with a Warforged behind it. This place is pretty crowded, and among the Warforged, they aren't like. None of them seem to be doing pretty well. Much like the rest of the district, you can tell if there's a lot of refugees and ex-soldiers here. You see, again, a lot of missing body parts. They don't seem to have... There are a couple with the similar sort of makeshift prosthetics, though not quite as many. No, not all of them.
Okay. I guess...
The Warforged right now are playing... There are several tables where they're playing card games. There's one in the corner playing a lute, and there's a bar, but they don't serve any drink, or at least they don't serve drink to Warforged.
I guess. So, how about how many people are in here? And like again, what is the general demeanor?
Quiet, cautious. It seems like actually most people seem pretty relaxed. Like it seems like whatever else there are no non-Warforged in here right now. And whatever they get on the streets, when they come here, they can at least relax and be themselves to some degree. They aren't. There are no people here, yelling at them. No war, no Warforged, that sort of thing.
Okay. Artie's going to approach Bartendotron.
Nods to you. I haven't seen you around before. Oh, you're You even see the war kid, or you look pretty new?
Artie's going to do the hand thing. It says. And introduce himself as prototype artillery, mobile artillery platform SK3. He goes,
sure. That's what the Smiths called you. I get it. That's what Kenneth gave you. That's what the dwarves said when they saw your little head squiggle. What's your name, kid?
Artie.
Ingot. And he holds out his hand to shake yours.
And Artie shakes his hand really, really enthusiastically.
Mm-hmm.
And he says,
"What can I get you?"
He goes, "What do you have?" He goes, "I'm not sure what one gets at a gathering of Warforged like this. This is the first I've been in."
Oh, well, I can get you a deck of cards if you want to play a game. We've got some darts. If you're any good at magic, we've got a set of magical darts over there. And then I have a couple of sensation stones here. And he holds up a little sliver. Little kind of golden sliver of a crystal, maybe about the size of a penny.
Artie does that kind of like dog head tilt at the stones.
Oh man, yeah, sure. So one of the Kenneth mage rights, and I don't know which one, but thank him, made these. They're not really like Dream Lily or anything. They're not harmful. It's probably more like what do the fleshies call it? Cannabis. Has the same sort of effect. 3 copper. Not illegal.
Artie nods his head and says, "Okay."
You're gonna do some robot dank?
All right.
Yeah.
For 3 copper, he hands you a small crystalline shard.
How long does it last?
About an hour.
Okay. Well, I'll give him. How many does he have for sale?
Look, kid. If you're looking to pick up a habit, this isn't the place for it. We're a reputable establishment.
They have. It's habit forming.
No, but I'm okay. They're not illegal, but you know that a watch member could pick you up with 5 of those, and then they could say, "Oh, don't give them a reason." All right, it looks like you're new to the city. Don't give them a reason to pull you aside. Don't have anything that they might consider contraband. These are technically not illegal, and they're fine inside the bar. But I wouldn't go out there I wouldn't bring more than you can eat than you can enjoy tonight, and I wouldn't go out there with more than 1 on you.
Artie nods at him and says, "Okay," and he's gonna go in the corner and stand there ominously and use the shard.
Do you know how to use the shard?
No, he's just gonna shove it in his forehead.
That is actually how it works. Congratulations. Yeah, the shard kind of melts into the strange runic carving unique to you in your forehead, and you get into kind of just like a mild high. Again, it's probably closest to weed more than anything. It makes you a little bit slower, but it's not unenjoyable. It's up to you just how much you like the effect. Like, it's not harmful.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just gonna stand here and like experience it, like watch. He's gonna just do that thing.
You can tell by the reaction of the other patrons that you are far from the first Warforged to do that.
Yep. And
Yeah,
yeah,
nobody pays you any heed.
and then that's it. That's all Artie's going to do all night.
How many dream shards are you going to buy?
I don't know how many, like, at what.
They last about an hour each. So how long do you want to stay at the bar? Bar's open all night. Warforged don't need to sleep.
Until Nilo comes in and gets me.
Okay. So now,
never.
Well, you're scouting out the bar. Go ahead and give me an investigation.
Yes. Will do. Oh, I wish they'd landed on that 18.
That's always the way, isn't it?
That's just 6.
So casing the joint, 2 entrances, one in the front guarded by a bouncer, one in the back probably locked. Not much in the way of windows. There's a small chimney that lets smoke out on one side, and that's pretty much all you get. There's ample opportunity on the surrounding bridges and towers to get a good view into the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Especially it sits right at the end of a long main bridge, so you could probably see into it for a good 200-300 feet if your view was unobstructed by people. And as the night gets later and later, it gets less and less unobstructed. The number of Warforged coming into and out of the bar seems pretty constant. They probably pick up, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 per hour. And unlike the number of people that obviously have to go to sleep, the Warforged never, that does never seem to change. Warforged tend to take shifts that force them to work at night. So this place is pretty much constantly seems to have the same amount of business.
Okay, is it a 1-floor structure?
It's part of a massive tower. The bar is probably 1 floor, but you'd have to go inside to find out if there's an internal staircase or not. You can't see any from out here. The door is pretty big. It's a large archway, but it's not big enough to see. There's enough smoke in there from their fire, and there's the bars and the gaming tables and whatnot. So there could be more stories that are accessible internally. You can't tell without going inside right now. Unless you want to try and sneak up and get a better look.
Is there a way to enter the structure from a higher floor?
You don't know. You could try and get into the. Okay, so go ahead and give me another investigation for that then.
Okay.
Figure out what tower is above it, how to get up there, and take a look.
That's a 20. It thought it was a 5, but it's like, no, we're not going to do Brickroad like that twice.
You crisscross across a number of stairways, make your way up about probably 3 or 4 stories, and that's the nearest entrance. You find another bridge that enters to a bar for humans, but you can tell by the entrance that the number of people coming and going seem way too many to be a bar. You think there might be some other sort of building or establishment inside that bar that, in addition to the bar, because there's just way too much foot traffic. It seems like the bar is almost like it's like a public space that people use as part of their walkway.
Okay. I'm going to go into that bar.
Okay, this is the Syrian Crier. You can tell just walking in here that it's about 80% Syrian refugees at least. It's large, it's open, there's a lot of light, and there does seem to be a lower level. There's also an upper level, but I don't think that actually interests you because this is a few stories above the Cog Carnival.
Yeah, not looking to go up anymore. 2 things I want to know about this place is, first of all, the clientele here, like, what's their general outlook on Warforged?
You do see a few Warforged, and it's pretty much what you would expect. There are obviously veterans here who have served beside Warforged, probably, that seem to give them the most respect. But they definitely all sit in a single corner, and it looks like there are a number of patrons that are not happy about the fact that they're even in there. Okay. There's no more than 4 or 5. It seems like there's very little reason for a Warforged to come in here when the Cog Carnival is just 3 stores down.
And then the other thing is I'm going to try to navigate from the Crier downstairs to the Carnival and see if there is a path
Excellent.
inside
So
the cave.
the crier, after you make your way down the first stairway, you find there's a second level to it. This level seems to largely be private areas, but beyond that, you find a tenement with lots of looks like pretty low class housing, probably single room apartments, maybe 2-room apartments. You continue down 2 levels of that, and then the stairway ends, and you're basically standing in effectively the basement, probably about this. Like you would guess, the car carnival is the next way down, but there is no obvious stairway unless it's inside one of these apartments.
No obvious.
The area
stairway.
is pretty well lit with eternal flame torches.
Gotcha. Then I'm going to go back outside because this is about the time when I would expect to rendezvous with Artie, and I have no
Okay.
idea he's just standing inside, staring off into space.
Well, Artie's not coming out, from my understanding. So, how long are you waiting?
People are coming and going from the carnival.
Yeah, Warforged are pretty much constantly coming and going. The Warforged tend to get shitty jobs that don't give them good hours, so they are up at all, and they don't need sleep, so they're up at all hours.
Gotcha. No, I'm just gonna find somebody who's going in, slip them a copper coin, and be like, "Hey, my friend is in there." I give him a quick description of Artie. It's like he's doing, what are the little gold shards called that he's shoving in his head?
Dream Shard.
It's like, I think he's doing too many dream shards. If he's in there, just send him out.
The Warforged kind of looks at you,
Mm-hmm.
looks at the coin, puts it back in your hand. No need. Could you please describe them for me? And after you describe, they go in, and Artie, a older-looking Warforged, missing an eye, comes up to you and says, "Hey, do you have a shifter friend outside that's waiting for you? You're probably about half hour through a dream shard right now."
Yes, he's a 4.
He asked me to bring you out in case. He asked me to ask you to come out. Do you want me to get up? Are you worried? Should we be taking care of him? And he kind of nods back towards the bouncer, pats a hammer on his own belt.
Artie looks up at the ceiling, and his eyebrows do that tilt upwards to a 45-degree angle, and he thinks for just like there's a silence that's just long enough to make you think that he doesn't know what to do, and he's like, "No, it's okay." And then he's gonna walk out / stumble outside. I don't know how.
No, you're completely cognizant. If anything, I'd say you have disadvantage on perception for the remainder of the half hour.
Yeah. Okay. So he's just gonna walk outside. Hello, Nilo.
Go ahead and take. Let's see, they were what, 3 copper each.
Yeah.
Go ahead and knock 12 copper off of your gold for those dream shards.
Okay.
Are you doing the dream shards, Artie?
Yeah. Yes.
You can see that a little bit of the dissolved crystal is still caught in the gullah of his head. It just sort of dissolves over time into him.
Artie, there's bad news. The only egress from the carnival is this front door. There's a back door.
There's a locked back door as well.
The back door is locked, so we're not going to have access to it. And if there is another way into the tenement above, I wasn't able to find it. So what's it like on the inside?
I'm going to describe the inside to him and point out the dartboards and things. And did I see any entrances into the back?
It's primarily one large area. There's probably, there is what looks like an artificial partition of wood that was added at some point behind the bartender's bar. It's probably not any larger than a studio apartment back there, though. But that's probably where the door exits. You didn't see an actual door on anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go into great detail on the my interactions with the bartender.
Mm-hmm.
And the how he was kind enough to kind of give me the lay of the land and the general. I'm going to answer the questions that he asked me to answer, and that's it basically. So I didn't.
This is why I
do
love
anything
working
else.
with Warforged. You get exactly what you pay for. So,
But you didn't pay me.
I don't like this idea of having this meeting in this very crowded location filled with like disgruntled warforged with only one exit. But the good news is, and I point up to some of these bridges nearby, so I've got excellent vantage points, and I'm a very good shot. So if things go south, my plan is to get up into one of those vantage points as quickly as possible.
He goes, most of the warforged in the bar were damaged, 2s or 3s at most.
And with that, Nilo is done for the night and is going to go back to his squalid living conditions.
Are you in the Undercity, the actual cogs, or are you just in the lowest ring of the city?
I am wherever I can live for 2 silver pieces a day.
Oh, you can definitely live in the lower ring then.
Okay.
Artie's just going to follow him.
So, aren't you supposed to go back to the hotel with
I don't know.
with Willow and like I can give you directions?
He goes, my name was not on the note, on the thing.
Okay, god damn it. I can't take this Warforged home with me. This is ridiculous. Is there...
No, listen. It's too late. You fed me. I'm coming home. He's staring at you with like his little Warforged puppy eyes.
I knew that this situation was going to get me in trouble. I knew it.
Just looking at you expectantly.
Okay. But only because if I abandon you, you won't survive the city tonight. And for some reason, Germain needs you tomorrow. So I will take Artie with me back to my squalid living conditions.
Excellent.
His eyebrows go in a way that makes him look happy.
So, Artie, I'm going to make some rulings here since we did some roleplay stuff that has consequences.
Uh-huh.
We're going with the 3 E rules at this point. So, Warforged cannot eat or drink. That means you will not be able to be affected by magical items that require eating and drinking, like good berries and healing potions.
Okay.
Instead, you will need to have oils of repair or similar. Now, the trade-off for that is you can also just hammer out the dents during a rest.
Okay.
So, just so you know, going forward. All right, so the rest of the group headed to Middle Dura. As soon as you get into this district, you can tell that it is not the same as any of the. Even the district next door had a much stronger watch presence. This isn't like. It's probably a borderline bad neighborhood. You wouldn't want to spend any time here more than you would have to. Arriving at the House Galandra Hall, it's in pretty good shape. Like, unlike it's probably the nicest building in the neighborhood. It's not fancy, but it does look reasonably clean and secure.
All right, I'm going to let the house know that I've arrived, and who would be the person to talk to if I wanted to find out the lay of the land around here? Like, who's the house member and responsible for, like, security?
For security, they actually have two dragon-marked members of House Deneth on retainer, as well as a member of your own house who actually oversees the whole operations. They have 2 basically bodyguards, street toughs, whatnot, plus an expert on, like, physical security, magical security, that sort of stuff from your own house.
That's probably who I would go to first.
All right. This is a halfling named Jeline D. Jarasco. She's probably about 15 years older than you. She looks like she's lived in Sharn her whole life. It's pretty obvious.
And I tell her that I've been put in charge of a woman, and then I describe Cole, and I say someone has a very large interest in keeping this woman safe, and I want to know who it is.
Well, I mean, dear, that's not really our business to leave our house for that sort of information. There's some informants we could maybe pay off. How much gold exactly are you interested in spending?
And so how much would oil of repair cost.
Oil of repair costs the same as a healing potion and has the same effect, except it works on constructs.